He has served as an independent director on the boards of both private and listed companies. Our guest this evening, Mr. Parag Mehta.
I always tell my clients who are in M&A that first see whether your core values fit.
One early spark that drew you to the profession, one challenge that humbled you, and one decision you still stand by.
And ultimately, I've seen karma is there, and definitely, you will, you will never have a problem if you follow this principle in life.
Through wealth planning, you've shown us that governance isn't just about policies or processes. It's about building trust that outlives transactions. Hello everyone and welcome back to FaceTime with Leaders powered by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host Tanay All, and today we're stepping into a world where governance isn't a speed breaker, it's a steering wheel, where mergers aren't just math, they're judgment, and where decades of professional wisdom meet the next generation of leadership. Our guest this evening has spent over 40 years building and safeguarding value. As senior partner at VSM and Co, he has been the steady hand behind mergers and acquisitions, business advisory, income tax planning, family wealth planning, arbitration, due diligence for private equity, and business structuring. He has served as an independent director on the boards of both private and listed companies, guiding institutions to make decisions that stand the test of time and scrutiny. Beyond the boardroom, he's a passionate traveler and a travel vlogger, and when time permits, a movie and cricket buff, proof that perspective builds both portfolios and people. Mr. Parag Mehta, it's an honor to have you with us today, sir. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Fine. Thank you, Tanay, for your kind words. Flatter a lot. It's fine, but I just try to take on life as it comes. And that's the way to move forward, rather than glossing over too many things. Just do your work and get on with it.
Absolutely. Sir, 4 decades of practice turn patterns into instincts. Maybe begin at the beginning, but like one early spark that drew you to the profession, one challenge that humbled you, and one decision you still stand by, especially on difficult days.
Yeah. So when I started, this is the second generation practice. And when I saw my father and the way he was, tutoring and mentoring people under him, that is what the first spark in me was. If I could change lives of so many people. And till date, I think 400 or 500 people have become chartered accountants under me, and some of them, rather most of them, remember and they come back with so much respect. That is what I feel, really makes me happy. One of the initial setbacks I received was when I just started my practice. I was typically a very theoretical person, that just out of the training and studying the law and all that. And I remember one income tax matter I handled at that point of time, and I just made the submissions and I said, forget it. Whatever he wants to do, he can do. My dad advised me, please go and explain the matter to him properly. I said, I've written everything. Why should I do it? And we lost that matter. And ultimately, it was a setback for me. But I realized that personal relations sometimes and personal hearings are more important. And that was a lesson which helped me a lot in life. Ultimately, we won the matter at the tribunal level, but it was a 6-7 year process. A small thing of going and talking with the person and explaining would have solved that issue. One decision I still stand by is my father always told me all clients you should treat them equally. Big, small, always treat them equally, give them the best you have. And that I have till date, I have stood by that principle. Sometimes some client is not doing well and he does not pay you on time or he delays the payment, but our services never falter. And ultimately, I've seen karma is there, and definitely you will, you will never have a problem if you follow this principle in life.
Yeah, very true. So you're often called the guiding light at VSM and Co, not a designation given lightly. Which leadership principles have kept you relevant across cycles, which is liberalisation,
Guiding
digitization, now
light
the
is
age of AI?
guiding light is something which my partners just put it on the website. It's not. Uh, I try to help them in their personal issues also. I try to help them professionally also.
Yeah,
And most important thing, I feel as a leader, I am very impartial. I'm very rational and I'm very transparent with them. So when I'm transparent and when I'm very, very impartial, they respect. Even if I tell something which is against their liking, they will respect it because they feel and they know it is not coming from a biased view. So that one principle of being very, very, very impartial and very balanced in approach and transparency, these three things are very important.
yeah.
What has helped me maintaining my group of 5, 6 partners. They have been with me for the last 10, 15 years. Some have been for more than 30 years. So, uh, one thing I can say, not a single partner has left the company.
Wow. That means a lot. That means the core values are in place.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you've seen M&A across cycles, booms, corrections, consolidations. What was the toughest transaction you rescued from the brink, and what temperament does it take to balance numbers with narrative?
I think I have one principle in life, whether it is MA or M&A or otherwise, doing the right business with the wrong person is a disaster. But sometimes if you do the wrong business with the right person, things can be rectified and modified. So I always tell my clients who are in M&A that first see whether your core values fit. If your core values don't fit, then there is no sense of doing the business together. How much money ever you may make, you will end up fighting. So it's better in those cases to exit if you still want a value out of a business, or not do the M&A and go with someone else. One of the M&As I recently handled, which had a very big problem. My client, though saying that they were trusting the other person, were not actually trusting the other person. And they were doubting, small, small things. That is when I really sat down with them and told them, what is your problem? Is it the person? Is it that they don't have the capacity to pay? You're doubting whether he'll pay tomorrow morning. You signed the papers and tomorrow you should have the check across and all that. Small, small things. It's a 200, 300 crore transaction. But small things. Then I sat down with them on a Saturday. I explained to them. I explained to them the nitty-gritties. I explained to them the risks. And then the transaction went through just 3 days back. So M&As are always very dicey. Till the last moment, anything can happen.
Yeah, true. And that you have to keep into consideration.
You that most important is the fit.
Yeah,
You may like a product, like management, it's something very innovative. It could be in the artificial intelligence. Anything is there. But for an M&A, important thing is whether you are sync with the promoter or not. That
yeah,
fit is very important. It's like a marriage. At least
yeah,
if not a permanent marriage, it's like a marriage for at least 10, 15 years.
yeah.
You cannot exit an M&A, and make enough money and peace of mind if you exit in 2, 3 years or 5 years.
True. So you've served as an independent director on both private and listed entities. What are the two biggest governance differences you constantly observe, and how should leaders adapt?
I think the biggest difference between private and public is obviously transparency. The information that you give out. You need to be more open in case of public companies. The smallest of decisions you take need to be reported to the BSE or straight away informed that these are the decisions which I've taken. Related party transactions are more under scrutiny in a public listed entity. Obviously, governance is more, your responsibility is more as an independent director of a listed entity. You're answerable to 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 shareholders. So the independent directorship in a listed entity is truly an independent directorship. If you stick by that, you stick by the norm and you stick by the morale of the independent directorship. Otherwise, private company independent directorship, it depends on the board. If the board wants a strong independent director, then it's fine. Then you are allowed to voice your views. Otherwise, in a private company, it's always family controlled, and they will value only if you give them some good inputs in business and get them some good deals in business. And that is how your independence is measured. Whereas in a listed entity, it's always measured by your transparency, your track record, how conduct yourself, a lot of things more in a listed entity compared
Yeah,
to an unlisted entity.
true. Okay, sir, now time for a very own rapid fire round. A few questions, some quick answers is all we ask for, one word or one
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah,
Are we
sure.
ready?
Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Tea, any day.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Lovely. Your favorite cricketing era and a captain whose temperament you admire?
Favorite cricketing era, I would say anytime before T20 started.
Okay,
I'm a traditionalist. And captain, Indian captain MS Dhoni, and international captain Mike Bradley.
okay, lovely. A film you rewatch because it still teaches you something about leadership.
Very few films about leadership, but two, three films which are really the international films which I like, and they teach you some values about what a leader should be. Is one is Scent of a Woman, and other is Godfather.
Lovely. A city that changed how you think about business.
Obviously, Mumbai.
Three words your closest colleagues would use for you.
Um, Fair, transparent, reliable, generous.
One travel habit that keeps you sane on the road.
Uh, I always like the journey more than the destination. And if you enjoy the journey, then you will always enjoy your
Yeah,
travel wherever you
true.
go, even if the times are not so great, or
Yeah,
property is not so great, or the destination is not so great.
true. Spreadsheet or whiteboard, your planning canvas of choice.
Whiteboard.
One mentorship advice you give repeatedly.
I tell all my students to be balanced in life, whether it is good times or bad times. You need to be balanced. You need to be very, very calm, and then only you can take the best decisions. This helps. I tell them this will help you in personal life as well as professional life. Don't take any decisions based on a really excitable nature or some in the moment, spur of the moment. Be balanced, take a calm view, take a step back, and then take a major decision.
Yeah. Past or future, where would you time travel?
Future.
Lovely. That gets us to the end of the rapid fire round. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Sir, over the past decade, we witnessed some of India's most high profile corporate crises, from Satyam's accounting fraud to IL and FS's financial collapse to DHFL's shadow lending network to government collapses at Yes Bank Fortis and even the NSE co-location scandal. When headlines like these break, the instinct is often to tighten policy and issue new compliance mandates. But in your experience, what are the first critical steps a board and leadership team must take in the immediate aftermath of a crisis, like to stabilize the organization, rebuild stakeholder confidence, and ensure controls are lived, not laminated?
you. So I think when a crisis happens, the first thing you should do is damage control, obviously. Immediate thing. Damage control would involve talking with the people, talking within your organization, being open, being truthful, being transparent. First thing is people around you should be able to be responding to your calmness. So, calmness is very crucial in a crisis. You can't handle a crisis by yourself, you yourself being in a crisis. You will be hyper, and then nothing will be solved. So you need to be calm, so people listen to you, they look up to you, and then you can see what is the best case scenario in a particular situation. I think most of the crises you mentioned have risen out of greed, and people have been just too greedy to, and if that is the factor which has led to all the crises that you mentioned.
And that will be the case forever. That's never going to go
That's
away.
the case forever because greed has no limits.
Yeah,
So a person needs to draw a line between making money and making money the right way.
true.
That's very important.
Sir, you've recently engaged with Directors Institute. Could you please share what inspired you to join Directors Institute and how
Ah,
has this journey shaped your
yeah.
perspective on modern governance?
See, I saw a mail of Director Institute, and I was amazed at the range of topics that they had covered. And I was particularly interested in ESG because I'm a chartered accountant, so other, technical topics are okay with me. But I was concerned, I was more, wanting to learn about ESG because that is a topic which I did not have much knowledge. I had knowledge about E and S, but governance I did not have. So that was one thing, the curriculum, and they were attached to also an international organization, and also the fact that at the end of the program you get a week at Oxford if you choose to go, and possibly interact with some of the best people there. So I just felt, my gut feeling was that I would like to do something like this. And since I was already a director in two companies, two listed entities and two unlisted entities, independent director, I felt that this will help me in understanding and maybe and give enhance my role. At the same time, I'll be able to give better quality output to the companies wherein I am an independent director.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much for those kind words and for sharing 4 decades worth of wisdom, like from structuring businesses and navigating complex mergers to guiding families through wealth planning. You've shown us that governance isn't just about policies or processes, it's about building trust that outlives transactions. So, thank you so much, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
To our listeners, I hope today's conversation leaves you with actionable insights with a renewed commitment to living governance, not just complying with it. This has been FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. I am Tanayol, and thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, keep leading with purpose, and of course, have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.